Well, thanks for staying with us here on the News of One. It's time to talk business. As Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, says Nigeria will need around $2.3 trillion over the next 21 years to make up for its infrastructure deficiencies. According to Mrs. Ahmed, the updated National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan was created to provide funding for important economic sectors like housing, agriculture, trains and roads from 2022 to 2043. The minister further observes that extensive consultation with the private sector had created an innovative approach to financing infrastructure projects across the country. Meanwhile, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria (MAN) has faulted the increase in the monetary policy rate (MPR) by the Central Bank of Nigeria, saying it portends tougher times for the already beleaguered manufacturing sector in the country. Now, recall that the Monetary Policy Committee (MPC) of the Apex Bank in its last MPC meeting announced its decision to raise the MPR by 150 basis points from 14% to 15.5%. In a bid to curb inflation. Reacting to these developments in an exclusive interview on TVC News, flagship business program Business Nigeria, the Director General of the association, Mr. Segun Ajayi-Kadri, noted that the policy will rub off negatively on other rates and dash with a hope for a single-digit lending rate for the productive sector in the economy.
The manufacturing sector, no doubt, it portends harder times ahead. I mean, because access to credit at competitive rate is the one that we will require. We have always asked for single digit. So this unexpected increase from the way we look at it takes us further away from the single digit that we have always advocated for. So it portends high cost of credit for us, which is going to affect our cost of production, is going to affect the price at which we are going to sell the final product. And in the face of dwindling disposable income of the average Nigerian, this portends a high stock of unsold inventory that manufacturers have suffered. It then means that we might look forward to low sales and being less competitive with products that are coming in from economies that have lower cost rates.
Mr. Segun Ajayi-Kadri, DG Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Let's turn to other stories now. Network malfunction of banks and other factors have contributed more than 396 billion naira, or 1.19% decline in Nigeria interbank settlement systems for the month of September 2022. Well, that's a decline from 33.2 trillion naira reported by the NIBSS in August 2022. The latest data reveals that total value of transactions worth 271.56 trillion naira were performed electronically in 9 months of 2022, an increase of 26% when compared to 215.76 trillion naira reported in 9 months of 2021. Meanwhile, analysts believe worsening macroeconomic conditions have now contributed to a decline in electronic transactions in the month of September. The gauge for world food commodity prices declined for the 6th month in a row in September, with sharp drops in the quotations for vegetable oils more than offsetting higher cereal prices. That's according to a new report released today by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. The FAO Food Price Index averaged 136.3 points in September, down at 1.1% from August, while remaining 5.5% higher than its value a year earlier. The index tracks monthly changes in the international prices of a basket of commonly traded food commodities. The FAO Vegetable Oil Price Index drove the decline, decreasing by 6.6% over the month to reach its lowest level since February 2021. Well, let's talk global markets now, as Asian stocks slipped today after a surprise drop in U.S. unemployment quashed any thoughts of a pivot on policy tightening ahead of a reading on inflation, which is expected to see core prices move higher again. The geopolitical tensions added to the uncertainty as markets waited to see how the Kremlin might respond to the blast that hit Russia's only bridge to Crimea. MSCI's Products Index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan shed a 1.4%. S&P 500 futures led the early action with a drop of 0.4%, while Nasdaq futures fell at 0.5% ahead of the start of Q3 earnings later this week. And China's blue chips fell 0.9% after a survey showed the first contraction in services activity in 4 months. And the Euro Stoxx 50 futures lost 0.8%, while FTSE futures dropped 0.4%. In Europe, Germany's gas commission, charged with drawing up plans to ease the impact of high gas prices on consumers, have agreed to give households and small, medium-sized businesses a one-off payment worth 1 month's gas bill this year as a mechanism to limit prices from next March or April. Now, following 35 hours of consultations, the Commission unanimously agreed on its recommendations to the government, adding that the one-off payment planned for December will cost the government around €5 billion. The Commission also notes that it is still working on a separate scheme for the manufacturing industry, maintaining that the state could limit prices by subsidizing 60% to 80% of projected gas consumption, with consumers paying the remainder at market prices, incentivizing energy savings. The subsidized price is also estimated to be around 12 to 14 cents per kilowatt hour for both households and businesses in Germany. Now, away from Europe, Saudi Aramco says it will supply crude oil to at least 7 customers in Asia in November ahead of the peak winter season. The producer is keeping supplies to Asia steady despite likely production cuts by tapping on inventories. According to reports, the full supply allocation comes despite a decision by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and Allies, including Russia, known as OPEC Plus, to lower their output targets by 2 million barrels per day. Meanwhile, Saudi Energy Minister Mr. Abdulaziz bin Salman has hinted that the real supply cuts will be about 1 million to 1.1 million barrels per day. To wrap things off now on Business Desk, so oil prices on the international market fell today, snapping 5 days of gains as investors took profits after a report on slowing economic activity in China. The world's biggest crude importer reignited concerns about falling global fuel demand. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude declined, recording a downward price margin of 0.76% to sell at $91.94 per barrel. And Brent crude futures also moved up to the red zone to sell at $97.09 with a price decline of 0.85%. And Bonnie Light maintains its upward review of 3.454%, selling for $99.02 per barrel. While the OPEC basket shows that crude oil dealers offered $94.05 per barrel with an uptick of 2.08%.